Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Hailey Rowe, and I'm a sales and marketing coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. I work with health, life, and mindset coaches and online service-based business owners to help them get more sales, shift their time to the client-generating activities instead of just the busy work, and overcome that social media overwhelm. Let's get into the show. If you're ready to take on your next paying clients, I have good news. My free 4 Basics of Client Attraction and How to Stand Out class is live at haileyrowe.com/client-attraction. In the class, you're going to learn the top 2 traits I recommend for most coaches and entrepreneurs if they really want to turn this into a career. You're going to learn how you can build demand for your services and stop getting crickets on your posts. You're going to learn the sales roadmap I used to improve my sales conversion rate and help my clients do the same. And you're going to learn so much more. So go to haileyrowe.com/client-attraction and get your copy of the class today. Hello, today we're going to talk about 4 steps to client attraction without relying on posting more. I am doing a little mini training once a week is my goal, and this week's topic is client attraction. So if you are somebody who maybe is struggling a little bit with feeling overwhelmed about all the possible ways you can market in your business, maybe you also dread the marketing and social media process and want a lighter way to market your business, or maybe you're just relying on referrals and word of mouth, but that is not enough for you to be hitting your business goals. You want to amplify your marketing a little bit more. So if any of these apply to you, this training is going to be useful for you. And I also want to let you know that you can get a handout to go with this. It's a little cheat sheet that's going to help you apply what we talk about today at haileyrowe.com/client-attraction. And you'll also get a little bit of a replay that you can watch and learn a little more of a deep dive in each of these 4 steps we're going to talk about today. But I think really important thing to note here is just because you have a service you want to share and you just want to work with clients, we still have to remember that clients and trust has to be earned. And so even though you may not like marketing, you have to find a way to either to do it in some way, shape, or form. Either you're doing it or someone you hire is doing it for you and with you. So that's going to be really important. So before we get started, I want to let you know about one of my clients, Danielle, who was able to apply these 4 steps of client attraction and was able to sell high-ticket 3-month coaching packages, able to book out her group nutrition challenges that she hosted online, and she was able to develop more partnerships with companies such as Google and Expedia to give lectures and workshops. And so let's get started about what we're going to cover. We're going to cover the 4 steps of client attraction, how to implement each one, and I'm going to show you some examples of real conversations that turn to clients, calls, and or email subscribers. So here we go. All right. Really quick, if you don't know who I am, I'm a marketing and sales coach and consultant, and I work with my clients on helping them develop a marketing plan that helps them get more exposure and sales, get more of their time back instead of focusing on busy work or pointless work, and help them make an impact doing what they love. I have a podcast called Health Coach Nation, a free community called the Marketing Hub on Facebook. And without further ado, let's get into the 4 steps. So the 4 steps of client attraction are connect, engage, pre-offer, and sell. Now, what I mean by each is with connect, we have to find a way to be visible in front of your ideal clients or partners and get in front of where they hang out. So for those of you here on LinkedIn, this is one way I'm visible in front of my ideal clients. But another way is I'm in a local networking group. Another way is I have an Instagram account, all sorts of things. I have a podcast. So we'll talk more about what connection method is right for you. And the engage stage is where you're going to ask intentional questions and get clear on what's useful for your ideal clients. So we cannot skip this step. A lot of people try to skip to the sales phase or skip to just marketing their freebie without first understanding what their audience wants, what their audience finds useful, asking questions to their ideal clients, things like that. The third step is pre-offer. And what I mean by that is we have to share a freebie or a quick win of some kind up front in front of your ideal clients so that they realize, wow, this person's really helpful. I wonder what their paid stuff is like. If this is what their free stuff is like, or what their very low cost thing is like, I wonder what their paid stuff is like. And then the last stage is the sales phase, which is either going to be a discovery call if you're a coach, or it can also be a webinar. It can also be a sales page. There's many different ways you can go through your sales process, but you do need to pick what's going to be your sales process and be able to kind of ease people into that and invite people into that instead of forcing people into that by following these 4 steps. So when it comes to client attraction, it's really important in all of this to make your dominant feeling going into this curiosity, and always thinking about your audience and what's in it for them instead of what's in it for me, or how can I, close the sale. Because when you come in with that energy, these 4 steps just don't work as well, and you're not able to really hear what your ideal clients need and want. So approach it with curiosity, and remember that this is something that's going to be ongoing in your business. So consistency is required, volume is required, building touch points is required. It's not something that you do once, like you just launch your website or you just talk to one person. This is not something that you can just be one and done. This is ongoing. So we have to find a way that it's sustainable for you. So the first step is to connect with our ideal clients, right? So we need to understand who is our who, right? And so in order to do that, we need to make sure that we're picking a niche that's easy to find, that has a desired goal or outcome that they would hire somebody to help them solve, that they have purchasing power, they're able to pay for services, right? And that it's a growing market. It's not something that is, really hard to find, and it's just, kind of filtering out. So we need to make sure that your target audience is easy to find, especially if you're going to use something like LinkedIn, where you can actually search certain job titles, you can search certain schools, you can search certain towns, etc. So now the other thing we have to do is make sure, just do a little pulse check on your message. Before you move forward with any of the other steps, we have to check, is your messaging something that people want? Is it in the words of your target audience? Does it speak to their frustrations and dream outcomes? And is it too confusing? Sometimes I see people have really complicated, really long messages, and people don't get it, or people don't resonate. And it's a problem that somebody maybe wants to solve, but it's not like urgent right now. Like you might be saying, I help you find your life purpose. But for most people, that's not like an immediate thing that they're like, oh my gosh, today is the day I need to find my purpose. It's more of a long-term aspiration, and they may not see that as like important enough right in this moment to get support. Now they might, but it's important to evaluate and get some research and that kind of thing. So the thing is, when we are connecting with our ideal clients, we need to decide what platform we're going to use once we decided who we're speaking to and what our message is. So in order to do that, one thing to consider is what has worked in the past for you. If you've had practice clients, or you've had free clients, or you've had paid clients, where have they come from? And make sure that you're tracking that all throughout your business journey. Because if you're finding all of them have come from word of mouth and you don't have a referral program, for example, well, then that might be something you want to start with. Or where can you be consistent? Maybe you find that you love in-person things. You hate social media. So maybe you are going to be more consistent with local marketing and local partnerships compared to using social media. Or what are your strengths? Maybe you love being on video, in which case, maybe you're going to pick a social media platform where you can do lives and you can make videos and reels and things like that. So think about your strengths. Think about what can you be consistent with, and think about what has worked in the past when deciding which connection platform you're going to stick with and use to start with. Now, when we are connecting with our ideal clients or partners, we have to keep it short in the beginning. I see a lot of messages come through, especially on this platform, LinkedIn, where I'm making this live, where the message is like really long. They're asking me something. They're asking me to do something. I don't even know them. And that's where it falls flat. Versus if somebody keeps it short, they introduce themselves maybe and say they want to collaborate or ask me a question or something like that, I'm more open to responding, right? So we want to keep it short, maybe 3 sentences or less. And I'm going to even show you an example. So for me, one of my intro messages is just literally, I'd love to connect. I work with many in the coaching business, always fun to meet others in the industry. And I mean that. And, this person just said, great to connect. And we opened up the conversation that way. So short and sweet, no asks. This was a message I got that I thought was really great. It was somebody who came across my profile, said we had a few mutual connections, and said why he was reaching out. He enjoys connecting with like-minded business owners, thought he would reach out to connect. And so we ended up doing a podcast together from this conversation that he started. So now we're going to move into step 2, which is engage. Okay, so I want you to just recap for yourself. What platform are you going to connect with your ideal clients on? What are you going to say? And if you struggle with this or you don't know how to open up the conversations, feel free to reach out. But now we're going to move to the engage stage. And this is where you're going to test different intentional questions. These are questions that allow you to gain insight about your ideal clients' struggles, goals, frustrations, what they find useful. And you want to make sure that when you're picking an intentional question to open up a conversation, that it's not so deep that a stranger wouldn't want to share it with you. So you don't want to ask, what's your biggest insecurity? Or what's your biggest, embarrassing story that you're dealing with right now? Or something like that. We want to keep it more on the positive side and be actually interested in our audience, right? So one thing that I ask usually, because LinkedIn is a networking platform and it's all about networking and work and business and all the things, is what are you up to these days? Simple as that. It could be simple as that. But don't ask something that's going to be very challenging to, open, like it needs to be an open-ended question and not something like, what's your favorite color? That would kind of be random and there's nowhere to really go with that. So just make sure you're considering that. It shouldn't be also like a yes or no. It should be more like a open-ended question. And here's an example of where that conversation went, where I showed you in the first step how that person reached out to me saying we had a few mutual connections. So he found a common ground and he said why he was connecting. And then I looked at his profile and I saw that he was a fellow podcaster. And I said, maybe we could explore podcasting together. And I probably should have put a question mark at the end of that so that it's a question. But notice I asked him back, would it make sense to explore a podcast together? And he said yes. And we did a podcast swap and it's a great way to collaborate. So just keep in mind here with intentional questions, you can also, if it's a warmer lead, meaning somebody who's been following you for a while, maybe they've been engaging a lot with you, and maybe they'd find your free resources useful, in which case you can be a little more focused on the fact that you might have some freebies, right? So it's still permission-based. You're asking, are you looking to grow your clientele? This is at least what I've done. Might have a free resource to share if so. And that way you are nurturing your current leads with your freebies. So that's another example. All right. In the interest of time, I am going to skip a little, and we're going to talk also, just a reminder here really quick. I think a lot of people think, oh, well, having conversations, I'm such a burden. People don't want to hear from me. And the truth is, a lot of people will be actually happy that you are making them not feel like just a number, not just sending a sales pitch, not completely ignoring them, right? So people like to feel noticed, heard, understood. And so being social on social media makes you more memorable, in my opinion. And I actually have gotten messages like this where people are like, wow, I'm actually touched. Or I'm glad you're not making me feel just like a number, for example. So just make sure that you keep in mind when you come at it with curiosity, wanting to be useful, being permission-based, it is something that can help you connect with your audience better. Okay, let's move on to step 3, which is your pre-offer. So what is a pre-offer? A pre-offer is a free baby offer that solves a specific problem or dream outcome for your niche. And what I mean by that is if you do a whole entire 6-month transformational life coaching program, your freebie is not going to be that whole thing. It's going to be maybe a micro step in that chain that can help somebody solve an initial urgent pain point or goal. So it needs to be something that is, bite-sized and digestible and not too much information and too overwhelming, or not like a really long 60-page ebook, things like that. Think about, what do people come to you and ask you about? What do they want to solve immediately when they book their first session with you? Things like that. Now, another thing to think about is this pre-offer is a permission-based and non-invasive way to take a cold lead to a warm lead, meaning we have to have this step before we invite to the sales process. Why? Because now some people will be on their buying journey, ready to go, just looking for a solve, etc. But most people won't. Most people will need to understand a little bit more about you, what you do, how you can help them. And the pre-offer allows you to do that. So your pre-offer or freebie or lead magnet, if you've ever heard those terms, it's all very similar. It's giving your audience a slice of the cake, but not the whole cake. We have to be able to help them see that, here's an initial solve for one thing, but also there's this whole cake that works together. And that's what your paid offer is. So some examples of pre-offers, if I were to say okay, include a call to action in one of your posts that talks about your pre-offer. Maybe you would say something at the end of your post, something like this. Want to know how to de-bloat without over-exercising, dieting, or gimmicks? Comment yes. So let's say you were a gut health coach. That might be something that you have. You have this de-bloat guide, and it takes them through a couple of ways they can not feel bloated, but not have to spend hours at the gym or do things that they maybe don't want to do, or stuff that doesn't really work. Another one could be, let's say you are a healthy meal prep nutrition type of coach. You might say, want an easy hack to keep the family healthy during cold and flu season? Comment yes for my free blah, blah, blah. Now, in this case, I actually made this one for a aromatherapist who had an herbal sample. So she was actually going to give an actual sample of her product. But you could tweak that to a guide or something like that. Another one, if you were like an overeating coach, for example, if I could show you how to stop overeating at dinner with a simple hack that takes less than 5 minutes, would that be something you're interested in? So notice here that these options are, they're tangible, they're an immediate problem, there's something short, like 5-minute exercise or a short guide or a sample that someone can consume quickly. And they're focused on, as I said, something that's a dream outcome or pain point right now for their ideal clients. All right. So now with your pre-offer, we have to make sure that it's delivered in a way that can be consumed by your ideal clients. So it could be something like a sample, it could be a guide, it could be a worksheet, it could be a checklist. Another thing is, if you're really struggling and maybe you just want to make it more of a fun contest or giveaway, you can do that. You can say, maybe they enter their name and email in exchange to enter a giveaway where 1 or 2 people are going to win something really valuable. It could also be a free little video class or training like this. It could be a Zoom meetup if you're trying to build community or have a networking type of offer or something like that. It could be a Facebook group invite. If you put all your best tips in a Facebook group, sometimes your pre-offer doesn't have to be like a guide, but it could be just joining the community where you're going to share a ton of free trainings, valuable things, etc. It could be a call invite to learn something specific. Like if I were to do 5 social media audits this week or 5 Instagram bio audits this week or something like that, that could be a call invite where I do a short call with them, give them the value. And, that's good for you if you don't have anything automated set up yet, like an email opt-in. If you don't have that yet, you can just start with a call. And then a workshop invite, which could be like online, you do a little class or something like that. So those are just a couple options. And keep in mind that with your pre-offers, you want to be able to share them in response to what people share with you about their goals, their struggles, what they find useful. And you also want to be able to share pre-offers within your social media posts, Instagram stories, things like that. So when you ask your intentional question, like, what are you working on these days or something? And for example, my situation, someone might say, oh, I'm working on getting more speaking gigs. Well, then I might say, well, I have a free speaker template, speaker pitch template to help you get more speaking gigs. Would it make sense to share it? Something like that. You can also share it in networking threads, like if there's forums on Reddit or something like that, where someone's asking a specific question and it's related to your freebie, you can mention it. And you can also mention it, as I said, in your content. So here's an example of where I mentioned one of my freebies in my content. I did a post about 5 C's of content marketing, and I said, I gave the value first. So it was a carousel post. I went through the 5 C's of content marketing. And then in the caption, I said, comment content below if you'd like my free content roadmap to help you develop 30 strategic posts and to get my bonus 20 calls to action guide. And people commented and I was able to send it to them, things like that. So other thing you could do is like what we call a 2-step post, where on Facebook, you can use a color background type of post. And I had a free video that went through 10 tips to crush your Facebook organic growth. And it got 74 comments. So this was something where I had the video already and I turned it into a lead magnet. And technically, I don't even need to give 10 tips. That's a lot. I would suggest you don't need that many, but it worked well and people were able to watch it and check it out and get value, that kind of thing. Here's an example of where you might chime in with support. So somebody's asking a question on a forum. And if, let's say you were a nutrition coach and you had a protein guide of some kind, healthy protein snacks, and this person's saying they're trying to eat more protein, well, you might be able to mention that you have your free protein guide. So my point here is that good pre-offers lead to easier sales. If you have a good freebie and it solves a problem, people will want to keep following you, book a call with you, things like that. One of my clients, this is a screenshot, she was able to book 5 strategy calls in 2 days by having a good pre-offer. And another one of my clients, they had their web traffic go up a lot because they were promoting a masterclass that people signed up on their website. And then naturally people would peruse their site and get into their email funnel and that kind of thing. And so then they were booking more calls, able to get more interest in their actual offer. So now we're going to go to the sales stage. And the thing I wanted to share about this is you want your sales stage to be invitation based. Okay. So we're not just shoving the sale down someone's throat. Your job is not to convince. Your job is not to beg. Your job is to invite. And that can look like asking, would it make sense to connect about blah, 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 blah problem that they said they want to solve? And maybe would it make sense to talk about how the freebie went for you and to talk about how we might be able to work together, things like that. So these are just some phrases that give you an example of how do we invite instead of just say, book a call with me or, let's connect, etc. The thing too with sales is you have to decide your sales process. So for most of my clients, it's discovery calls. Other clients, they do webinars. Other clients, it's all done in their email funnel for them. So it depends on what you sell, how much it is, your ideal client, the time that they have, etc. But you do need to consider what is going to be your sales process. Okay, I want to wrap this up with just sharing that you just learned 4 steps to client attraction that you can apply on any marketing channel or platform. But let's face it, there's going to be nuances that come up. There's going to be people who say things that you're like, wait, what? Or I'm learning my audience doesn't want this. Or I'm learning that my conversions on my sales page are really bad. Or I don't know how to set all this up in a system format or whatever. But the point is, there's going to be challenges that arise, just like this meme shows. And in order to address those, I want to do 2 things. 1, invite you to my free client attraction class and cheat sheet where we go way deeper on this. You get a cheat sheet to help you apply and give you some steps about the low-hanging fruit to attract your next clients. And then I also want to invite you to book your free client attraction consult. And that's at calendly.com/Hailey Rowe -coach, where you can book a call. We can talk about your goals and see how we might be able to improve your marketing, your sales, your messaging, things like that. All right, I'm going to head off. If I click next on this slide, it's going to play a video, and I don't want to do that. But I do want to let you know I have lots of testimonials on my website. I can also send you some if you're interested. And I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And if it's really helpful for you, I'd really appreciate if you share it and or leave a written podcast review. This tells the podcast sites that our show is useful and it will be promoted to more people that way. Thanks again.